Hi guys, my name is Karthik and I am from ExecuteAutomation.com and welcome to another video of our EA Weekly video series. And today we are going to talk about, is it required for automated cross-browser testing to be performed for a modern web application? Well, asking this question of performing cross-browser testing varies from person to person. So if you're going to ask this question to maybe a non-technical guy within your team who is going to be just working on process or who is going to be dealing with clients or business-oriented stuffs, so probably that guy is going to say, yes, it is required or it is must to do a cross-browser testing. But if you ask the same question to maybe a developer, the developer is going to probably say, because the technical details of how things work, he's going to say that no, it is not required because things. Well, if you get this answer from a developer as a tester, you probably don't believe him, or maybe you repel on whatever he says, and your tester instinct will say that he is not really telling the full story behind this testing. So probably you as a tester will start testing in cross-browser as well. And if you ask the same question to a tester or a manual or an automation test engineer, they will probably answering you something like, yes, we need to do cross-browser testing, but we are doing cross-browser testing only in Chrome and probably on IE in some cases. So you can see that the same question is being answered by three different kind of people in three different ways. So now just tell me, like, why do you really require a cross-browser testing? So before jumping into this cross-browser testing and do we really require to do an automated cross-browser testing, let's first see the history of cross-browser testing. Well, way back in 1990s, while there were only two browsers available in the market, one is Netscape Navigator and the next one is Internet Explorer. Because there were only two browsers, in order to gain the market hold for the business reasons, they usually try to implement things much differently with each browsers, and that's why if you see a page rendered in IE, it's going to be rendered completely different in Netscape Navigator. That's really a big problem, and for that reason you would probably think that yes, cross-browser testing is very, very important. But then came Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, Opera, Safari, and these browsers started to, of course, implement things differently. But later what happened was a lot of standards came into picture, and now all the different browser companies are trying to implement things much similar to each other so that the rendering is going to be pretty much same. So if you say Chrome browser has V8 rendering engine, whereas IE has a different rendering engine and Edge has a Chakra rendering engine. So you can see all these rendering engine, even though they are different, they are going to be rendering things much similar to other browser so that they can really be compatible with each other. So the browser companies by itself are trying to be more generic and they are more standardized way in rendering things. So you can see that the browsers are getting more and more into standard right now. So the problem that we had in 1990s is not there right now, at least in 2019. And similarly, most of the modern frameworks that we have right now, like React.js or AngularJS, or even the famous controls for Microsoft ASP.NET, which is nothing but Telerik controls. These companies are all doing a lot of testing in-house before they actually release to the customer for being used as a framework within their application development. So you can see that the React, which is developed by Facebook, is very, very popular among the community, and a lot of people are really using it for the application development. And you can see that React by itself has told that they support all the modern browsers right now, and they also support Internet Explorer 9, 10 and 11, but still requires polyfill in order to overcome some of the problems that they have by rendering the applications. So they are already telling it upfront to us that these are things that they have to be taken care before making use of the application. And then the most popular another framework, which is nothing but the Angular applications. So you can see that Angular applications are also used a lot in these days, and they also have told that they currently support the latest version of Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and IE Mobile, Safari, iOS, and Android. Of course, they have mentioned that the Edge has like two most recent major versions, and similarly iOS has two most recent major versions and Safari two most recent major versions. As you can see that they are also supporting the latest and the most major versions right now, which means that you should be keeping things in mind that while it comes to actual usage of these kinds of languages, we should be using the most recent updated versions of browsers as well. But even though all these days right now, while you are trying to run the test or while you are trying to use your application, by itself you get that update logo within the Chrome browser or any browser of that matter. It automatically updates browser for you regardless of you being giving the permission, unless until you are working in a very secure environment. So browsers are keep on updating. Similarly, these frameworks that we are talking about are also keep on updating, which means we could see that all these browser companies and all these language development companies or framework development companies are also very compatible to the latest browser. So as that sense, as we can see in this history compared to 1990s to 2019, the transitioning is completely different, and we could see that by itself the compatibility of cross-browser is happening. But as that said, is it really required to do the cross-browser automated testing within our companies while we start working with it? For these questions to be answered, we need to answer some of the questions which is majorly important while we really talk about that. So the first question is our application going to use the bleeding edge feature of JavaScript versions, since not all the browser does support beyond ECMAScript 6. So because there are different versions of ECMAScripts like ECMAScript 6, which is nothing but ECMAScript 2015, and then came in 2016, and every version of JavaScript is being released right now in every year, like ES Next they call it as. So you can see that every versions of JavaScript is not kind of supported. It is very important that are you really in development purpose are you using the latest version of JavaScript? If so, you should be telling to the client or the customers that these kinds of browsers are going to be supported and these browsers are not going to be supported, so that you can be more comfortable while delivering the product to the customer that these browsers are the only supported browsers for the application, whereas other browsers are not being supported. And similarly, if you're going to be using this kinds of application with bleeding edge features of JavaScript, try converting the code to the old-fashioned syntax using some cross compiler where needed, and also use polyfill where required to make code compatible with the older browsers. And the next question is, what are the other third-party technologies or tools being used within your applications? For instance, are they browser compatible like Telerik if you're going to be using the third-party controls? Or are there any WebGL powered 3D tour built in the product which for sure are not going to be running within IE 11 or IE versions above IE 11? So you can see that these kinds of 3D rendering engines like WebGL and similarly Telerik controls, all these controls are supported in some browser, not for all the browsers. So make sure that any plugins that you're going to be using within your application are really cross-compatible, or if not, you should be mentioning that within your application. And the next question is, do we know who are our target audience and what platform and browser they are using? So the target audience can be using Chrome IE a lot, not Firefox or Opera or Safari. And most of US audience uses Safari if they use Mac operating system. And similarly, most of the banking or manufacturing customer uses IE a lot for security and OEM, because OEM is always going to be Windows. And similarly, for commercial customer, they use Chrome a lot. So these are most important things. You can see that these are the browsers being used within the customers, and all these customers are going to be using based on the customer base itself. So the regular customers like us who are going to be using computer a lot are going to be using Chrome a lot, I guess. They don't really use Internet Explorer. And also I have heard from many of my friends being saying that Internet Explorer is the best browser in the world to download another best browser which is nothing but Chrome. So as that said, the next question is, are you really informing your customers that these are the browsers being supported by your application and no other browsers are being supported? So you should be putting like a disclaimer where you are going to mention that is it okay to use this latest browser instead of using a very old browser. So that is very important, because I have seen in many government website, at least in India, it shows that there is these browser being supported and the rest of the browsers are not being supported. So this is really, really good because you don't really end up messing up saying this browser not going to be supported, and if you use that, you are going to be getting some sort of messed up components within your app. And finally, ask yourself, are we really doing cross-browser testing even if we have for all the modules? Is it worth investing time in cross-browser testing, at least automated cross-browser testing for each and every module by sometime modifying the identifier based on your browsers? So you can see that most of the time while we start doing the planning of the automation testing, we always think of doing cross-browser testing, but at the end of the day, we most probably won't do the cross-browser testing at all. We just have the components like Chrome, IE, Firefox, and all those browser components within our code. But what happens is literally we just miss that particular part and we start using Chrome a lot rather using IE or Firefox. So make sure that the time that you invest is really worth it to be doing a cross-browser automated testing. So I have seen a lot of companies start doing the cross-browser testing as the initial phase, and slowly they start using the Chrome browser a lot. So these are the questions that you need to be asking yourself before you jump into making sure that whether the cross-browser automated testing is really important to be done or not within your company. So once you have asked all these questions, you will now know that whether you need to do the cross-browser testing or not. But if you still feel that cross-browser testing is going to be the most important thing for your case, so for sure there are so many solutions available. Some of them are this. Write Selenium code with parallel execution support to run on multiple browsers via Selenium Grid. Or if you are an infrastructure read person, try using Docker container images to run on multiple browser images, or maybe Selenium for that matter. And if not, use SauceLab, BrowserStack, or LambdaTest if we want to go with 2000 plus combinations of browsers and environments. But again, they all come with a lot of cost. So that's very, very important because we will show a demo right now while working with LambdaTest. Again, that's going to be the demo version. I actually am using it. So I'm going to show you how I can run a Java test on the Lambda test environment to make use of some of the browsers. Again, you have to pay so much of money so that you can start using the Lambda test itself. So again, it's all come with cost, but if you have your own infrastructure to make use of the cross-browser testing, something like running in Chrome, IE, or Firefox, you can still do that. But again, the problem comes is the versions. So not all the versions of the browsers are really going to be supporting the latest version of JavaScript. And once again, this is the graph that you can see here, that it has all the different combinations of browser available, where it's also telling us that these are the different kinds of browser being supported for these ECMAScript. So as you can see, for these versions of browsers, the ECMAScript are currently being supported in only these versions of browser. So you can see even the ECMAScript is going to be playing a very, very important role while testing the application. Because if suppose the browser that you are testing, the Chrome browser or the IE browser or the Firefox browser, maybe those browsers may not be supporting this version of JavaScript, and you'll still be missing some of the test cases which is not going to be tested at all. But once again, testing in cross-browser with an automated fashion is something which will make you feel more comfortable, but make sure that the time that you invest in making the cross-browser testing to happen should be worth it. And at the same time, it also gives you a little more comfort that, okay, I have tested all these browser combinations. For sure, it is going to be benefiting us because our customer bases are going to be really be happy without having any problem. And that's why these companies are making a lot of money, like BrowserStack, LambdaTest, and SauceLab, because they have 2000 combinations of browsers within them, and they also have different combinations of operating systems and environments, so which make more comfortable for us, because the code that I'm going to be showing you in the demo in my Mac OS right now, it's going to be very easy. All you have to do is just give some username and password, some credentials, and change your code if it really supports parallel execution, and you can run the test instantly, which will make your test run much faster and much easier in different browsers without even you having to set up any infrastructure at all. So that's really cool. So well, now we have discussed everything about cross-browser testing, like what are the conditions and criteria that you need to be taken before doing cross-browser testing, and what is the actual situation of cross-browser testing happening within the organizations, and how people are really doing it. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I have not seen the whole picture, or maybe I have to be looking at some other way or dimension of cross-browser testing. So if you feel like cross-browser testing is really important, and if you really feel that a lot of companies are really doing cross-browser testing as one of the serious case, so please comment everything below so that we can really see, or maybe all the people like me or the community can understand how it is being done, so that it is going to be really helpful, not just for me and also for the community who are going to be watching this video and going to be reading your comments. So once again, we are going to be seeing a quick demo on the Lambda test of how to do it from my Mac operating system. And after that, we'll see how we can leverage the power of cross-browser testing, at least in a third-party services, which is doing the cross-browser testing much efficiently by using one cross-browser testing as a service. So I will quickly show you a demo of how to run our automation test with the LambdaTest portal. So for that, I'm going to first open my Chrome browser, and I will quickly show you how it looks like. So within my Chrome, I'm going to navigate to the LambdaTest website, and then I guess I need to log in for the first time. So I'm going to log in into my account. And now if I go to my dashboard, I will quickly show you how I can see the complete run that I have made so far. So totally for this month, I have executed like 6 times. So basically this is like a free version that I have signed up for. And I'm going to be running the test against this particular portal. So what basically it does is like it actually has different kinds of Chrome, different kinds of browser supports. So if you go to the real time, you can see that I can do some real-time testing here. Something like, so as they have given, I'm going to just open the google.com or something like that. And then I can just select the Chrome browser, and then I can select the operating system here. Let's say it's Windows 10. And then if I start doing it, you can see that it is automatically launching a browser for me in the Windows machine within their environment. And then it is going to show me how the application is going to look like within that particular operating system and within that particular browser. So you can see that it has automatically brought me this particular remote desktop window. And now I can just do something like Selenium, and then hit the enter. You can see it brings me up for this particular browser. So similarly, I can keep on changing the browser types, and I can see how the renderings are going to happen within this particular machine. So basically, because I'm running in my free version, so it shows me like minutes remaining, like it is only 10 minutes I have right now. So I'm probably going to end this session. So this is how I can run a real-time testing using these options. But there is something called as automation test as well. So this is what we're going to be seeing in this particular video. With this automation testing in place, you can actually connect your test within your account over here, and then I can run the test for me. So you can see I have already executed some test, and this report is coming along with the video support here. So I'll quickly show you how you need to do that. The first thing you need to do is you need to have something called as your access token. So I have one here. So whatever you see right now is going to be changing because I will regenerate the access token so that you don't really have access to it. So I'm just going to be using that. So for that, I'm just going to open my IntelliJ IDE, and this is the project I'll be working for. So I have commented my Selenium configuration that we used for this code. And again, this particular code is from the Advanced Framework Development to Selenium Java course, which is released in Udemy. So this is exactly the same code. What I'm doing is I have just modified the code a little bit to add the capabilities to support the one in LambdaTest. So you can see that I have given the browser name as Chrome, and the version is 70.0, and I'm running on Windows 10 platform. And this is my build name, and this is the name for the test. And the network I have set as true to enable the network logs. And then if I set the visual as true, it is going to take a screenshot and things of that nature. So these are the capabilities that I have set for my test to be executed. So now once I run this test, it is going to run the test within the Chrome browser. And if you have an option to run the test in parallelly in multiple different browsers, so if we can also do that with our test, so we can just pass the different kinds of browser within the parameters, and then if you run that, it is going to run all those different kinds of browser within different kinds of operating systems in the same time parallelly, and all those execution is going to be happening not in our local machine, rather they are going to be happening within the LambdaTest portal. So I will quickly run that, but before that let me also show you the LambdaTest. So currently it says that there is like totally like 7 tests because we did this real time. So now I'm going to run this whole test with the testng.xml file. So once I run that, you can see the test is currently running, and it says that current session is 0. I guess it should be now changing because we're currently running the test. So once I refresh this, you can see that the session live is actually 1, so meaning there is some test happening, and the count has increased from 7 to 9 this time, which means there is something happening here. And let me also refresh this. The test is still running, and now it says 1 and still 9. So if I go to the automation this time, earlier there were like 4 tests running, but right now I guess it's going to be like 6 for the EA test. Yeah, there is 2 currently running in place. So let me click that guy here. So once I click that, you can see that it is currently running in Windows 10 with the version of 70.0, and it is allocating a VM right now, which means still the test is running here, but this test is currently completed. So let me see a video of this particular test so that we can see like what happened there during the point of execution. So it has started running that in the Chrome, and it says the Chrome is being controlled by automated test software. I think something would have happened. Yeah, it opened our app, and then it's clicking the login. It's entering the username and password, hitting the login there, and it's going to the employee list, and then the test is done. That's cool. So there is something happened here. This is exactly what we had written in our scenario. And now if I go to the another machine, I can also see like what happened over there for the test operation. So let me quickly run this. All right, it logged in, and now the test should actually fail. Yeah, the test has actually failed here, but somehow this is showing a pass, so I guess we have to add some kind of exception there. But if we want to see what is really happening for this, I can go to the exception or maybe the logs, and you can see it shows me some logging information of the Selenium, and there is a network, like what it has happened, what are things being loaded during this particular piece of time, what are the JS file, images, media, docs, and CSS, and also shows the command for each and every operation, which is really, really cool. So it has also taken a complete screenshot for me during the execution. So these sort of operations can be easily achieved with the Lambda test with very, very simple operation that you don't really have to even worry about how these different browsers are being controlled. But if you're going to have these operation in your own infrastructure, then you need to probably have multiple grid setup, and then you need to have all this infrastructure in place, and then running the test is going to take so much of effort because you need to have the different VMs running in different places, or maybe if you're going to be using some AWS cloud or maybe Azure cloud, so you need to have those VMs pinned up and running each and every time. But here all these operations are going to be available for you within this particular Lambda test, so that all those operations are going to be taken care for you automatically. So that's it, guys. This is how we can do test with Lambda test using a very, very simple code that we have in our framework course already. So once again, let me know why the cross-browser testing is very important for automation testing. If you feel like, please give a comment. And once again, thank you very much for watching this video, and have a great day.